If you're jumping into the world of tampon alternatives and you're not sure if a menstrual cup or a disc is best for a first-time user, then you're in the right place. I'm actually so excited about today's topic. Someone made a comment about this on one of my shorts, and I realized I've never really discussed the differences between cups and discs when it comes to first-time users and which might be the best option. And I hate to say it, but there's not really a clear, definitive, yes, you should use a menstrual cup as a first-time user, it's easier, or yes, you should use a menstrual disc as a first-time user, it's easier, because it's just not how this works. There's a lot up in the air as far as your opinion, your personal preferences, and your anatomy that by the end of this video, hopefully you'll have a clear answer for, and you'll know I'm ready to try a cup or I'm ready to try a disc. If you're new here, my name is Kim Rosas and I'm a reusable period products expert. Period Nirvana is where you're gonna find tons of menstrual cup and disc videos and resources. We also have a quiz on Period Nirvana that's gonna help you find the right menstrual cup or disc for you based on the fit that you need. So when you're ready to decide if you want a cup or disc, go to that quiz and answer cup or disc and it'll give you a result. And when you're ready to buy, you can visit Period.Shop. That's our retail experience for US customers only. I'm sorry, we can only ship to the US, but that is what supports our educational efforts here. So thank you. Believe it or not, a long time ago, I was a first-time menstrual cup user. And at the time, there was really only the menstrual cup in terms of reusable options. So there was no what's best for first-time users for me. I just went to the store and got a Diva cup like so many others. But now we're lucky to have lots of different options, including menstrual cups of all sizes, menstrual discs of all sizes, different shapes, firmnesses, designs, things that make it easier to put in, things that make it easier to take out. And all of that becomes very overwhelming as a first-time user. But ultimately, you just kind of want to narrow it down. Cup or disc. You're here because you're looking for a similar experience to a tampon, and cups and discs give you that because they're worn internally. Instead of absorbing your period blood, they're going to collect it. And of course, they do it in different shapes, but effectively they're collecting your blood. That's kind of where the similarities end, because how you put them in and how you take them out and sort of that experience is really different, as well as some anatomy differences that mean some people might be better suited to a cup over a disc or vice versa. But you can do the same things that you do with tampons with both of these products. You can do gymnastics, you can go swimming, you can sleep in them. There are things you can do with a disc you can't do with a cup, specifically penetrative intercourse. But other than that, they're really the same in terms of what you can accomplish while wearing them. Their benefits are also very much the same. You can wear each a cup or disc for up to 12 hours at a time safely. So you can put it in the morning, go the whole day, take it out at night and wash it. If you have a heavier flow, you may have to do that more often. But the same is true for tampons. You would change your tampon more often if you have a heavier period. That said, menstrual cups and discs hold more than tampons, especially discs. So if you have a heavy period, perhaps the disc is something you want to look into. They're also better for you. They have no chemicals. They're not leaching anything into your skin. They're going to maintain the same pH balance. They're not absorbing anything. They're not drying you out. And you're saving money and you're saving waste. They last for up to 10 years. So your investment is well worth it. There are so many different benefits to cups and discs. I can't list them all today, but they have benefits equal to tampons, and I would say certainly above. Now, the convenience factor is where people differ. I find menstrual cups and discs to be more convenient than tampons because you're already wearing them when you leave the house. You don't have to pack anything extra, and you get a full 12 hours. Some people just really prefer the convenience of a disposable option and, you know, the applicator experience of tampons. But, you know, I think if you're watching this video, you're definitely intrigued by cups and discs. Maybe the reusability of cups and discs isn't a deterrent, and you're ready to make the switch. Let's start with menstrual cups because for most of you, that's the most familiar item that you're used to seeing. And you've probably seen this particular brand, Diva Cup, which is kind of the proprietary eponym of the menstrual cup in the US.
You use a Diva Cup.
If you've called it a Diva Cup or a menstrual cup, they're kind of the same thing.
I use a Diva Cup, you know that.
But Diva Cup is a brand, menstrual cup is just the name of the product. The pros, obviously this is a familiar concept. More people have seen menstrual cups than a reusable menstrual disc. Another pro as a first-time user is that menstrual cups have a lot of really great options for first-time users, including teens and those who are just really petite and you're looking for really comfortable mini starter product. This is the All Matters Mini. There are lots of different teen brands. Salt also has a teen option, and they're just so tiny that it makes the process a little less scary because they fold to be very small, and it's just more petite, and it just feels like, as a first-time user, it's easier to start with something really tiny. Menstrual cups are also less involved to insert. And what I mean by that is when you insert a menstrual cup, once you've kind of gotten the hang of things, you put your finger and your thumb in, and then you just walk the cup up. And so basically just the tips of your finger and thumb are what go inside your body. It's not like a whole hand in up to your elbow situation, which, you know, I think a lot of people have in their heads. It's going to be that situation. It's not. Basically just these little fingertips and your thumb tip are what's going into your body to help you put it in. And on that note, another pro is that they're also less involved to remove and less messy to remove. So, you know, you might have to go in a little deeper than you expect to break the seal, but depending on your product, it's not that bad. And the menstrual cup stays upright. So everyone's worried about mess. It's going to be messy. Now, it could take some practice to get there, but basically you keep the cup upright as you remove it out of your body. The blood stays kind of contained within the walls because it's all connecting as it removes. It's not spilling out, and it stays in the cup once it's out of your body. Then you have the ability to just dump it into the toilet and you're done. That experience is very different with a menstrual disc, so you'll want to keep that in mind as we talk about that next. Another pro column is that there are so many choices of menstrual cups and the different brands and their sizes and their designs and who they work for, and that's really the most important thing. You can find a menstrual cup that's going to work for basically every single anatomy type. You've got the basic Diva cup, which fits a lot of people, but it's kind of a little long, so maybe a high cervix cup. You've got the Kind cup, which has a very ergonomic shape. You've got a low cervix, high capacity cup. You can trim these off, and you have a very short but high capacity option. You've got a stemless shorter cup, which some people find more comfortable. It also comes in TPE, so if you have a silicone allergy, there are options in menstrual cups for you as well. There's also the brand Flex, which breaks the seal for you. So if you're looking for something maybe a little easier to remove, that's an option as well. So it's overwhelming, but ultimately, if you do your research, you can find something that's going to work for you. Or as another plug to the quiz, you can take the quiz on Period Nirvana because we've already done all that research for you and we kind of align you with something most likely to work. Another pro is that menstrual cups are just more readily available. Obviously, we carry cups and discs on Period.Shop, but if you're in a hurry and you just want something right away, you could go to Target, CVS, Walgreens, Whole Foods, all these different stores, and you'll find certain brands of menstrual cups. Now, it might not be the menstrual cup that's going to work best for you, but if you're in the average category, there's certainly something on the shelf that's going to fit you. Now, let's talk about the negative side, the cons of menstrual cups. Some of their pros are also considered cons, in my opinion. Having so many different menstrual cups available is also a con. It's overwhelming. It feels like, how will I ever find the thing that's going to fit me, because there's so many different infinite possibilities out there. And it does become sort of a chore in some ways to do the research, to sit and look at all these videos. And I make the videos, so I know it's a chore. It's a chore to watch. It's a chore to edit. There's definitely a cup that's going to fit you, but how long until you find it, right? Maybe not your first cup, maybe not even your second cup. That can be an expensive and frustrating process. The suction is another con. Menstrual cups create a 360-degree seal inside the vaginal canal. So what happens if you don't break your seal, and sometimes even when you're trying and you are breaking your seal, or you think you are, it feels stuck, and that can be really difficult, really stressful, very anxiety-inducing if you cannot get your menstrual cup out. And it might involve reaching higher than you expected. You know, I said they're less invasive to remove and insert, but if you're having trouble breaking your suction, then you are probably going to have to get up in there a pretty good bit. It's also a concern if you have an IUD, so you might want to look at menstrual discs in that case because they're suction-free. It also is a little harder if you have access and reach issues or any hand strength issues to break the seal, which is one reason to look at the Flex cup in that case. But the Flex cup obviously also has to fit your anatomy and work for you. But yes, you always want to break the seal. It has a suction. That's a bit of a con depending on who you ask. Another con for menstrual cups is that there are lots of different ways to fold them, and some will work for you and some won't. So you kind of have to cycle through a set of between 5 and 8 different fold styles. I always loved the punch down fold. It's certainly the best for first time users. I'd recommend if you're new to cups to look up our menstrual cup fold tutorial. We show them all, but punch down is certainly my favorite. There's also the C fold, and there's all kinds of wacky ones, but you want to cycle through. If the cup's not opening for you in one, a different fold might work, but it does mean learning different techniques. I started with a menstrual cup. There are so many benefits to a menstrual cup, and they were truly life-changing for me. So I think that if you are looking for something a little more familiar, less involved, if you're nervous about touching your own body, if you're nervous about blood, menstrual cups can be kind of an introduction to reusable period care. They're certainly inching forward. Maybe you started with an applicator tampon, then maybe you tried a non-applicator tampon, which involves pushing the tampon in with a finger. Then maybe you moved up to a menstrual cup. Well, that's where we get to the menstrual disc. You can skip the menstrual cup if you want and go straight to disc, but a lot of people do start with cups for that reason. So menstrual discs. Lots of pros, lots of cons. It's all about what works for you, right? Probably the biggest pro of menstrual discs is that they tend to be one size fits most. Not all, most. And the reason for this is that they sit in an area of the body called the vaginal fornix. Menstrual cups have to kind of fit diameter-wise and length-wise and firmness-wise and all of these things, like it's a triangle of fit. Menstrual discs go into the vaginal canal and then they go into this area above it, the vaginal fornix, which is pretty open, pretty big. That's why it's so big. And most people have about the same room in there. That means as a pro, it's more likely to fit you on your first try. You could get any menstrual disc as long as it's kind of one of the one size options or the larges, and it's most likely going to work for you and not leak for you and fit you, meaning you don't have to trial and error through so many options. I keep saying most because that's not everyone's experience, but your likelihood of it fitting you on the first go is certainly higher, and that's a pro. Menstrual discs are also suction free. So when you remove them, and we'll get to the con on that, but the pro is that all you need to do, depending on the design, is pull the rim and pull it out. There's no suction to break. If you're using something with a removal aid like Hello Disc, you just grab one of the loops and you just pull it out. You don't have to navigate through breaking the suction. It's just going to pull out, no drama. And this also is better if you have an IUD. Flat fit. Flat fit is a pro because if you are, someone with a lower cervix, or if you want to have penetrative intercourse and you want to do that on your period and you don't want to deal with messy sheets, and let's be honest, it's maybe not about not touching blood and more about not doing laundry. So a flat fit means that there's room for activities, and that's the best way to say that. Another tick in the pro column for menstrual discs is that they're just really easy to fold. They just fold in half. That's all you gotta do. There's no origami, there's no C fold, there's no punch down fold, there's no diamond fold, there's no 7 fold, there's no triangle fold, there's no labia fold. There's just fold. It doesn't even have a name, actually. It's just a fold. You just fold it in half. This one I'm using here is the Flex Reusable. It has a notch, so it folds really narrow. Any disc is gonna fold just in half, makes it super, super easy. And then the other thing that goes into the tick on pro columns is that they're sort of intuitive to insert. And I know watching this, you might say, I don't believe you. Again, it's not a universal experience. However, just from being in this industry for so long, the feedback from people comparing menstrual cups to menstrual discs and how they work and how they insert and all of that, the insertion process just works out on the first time for more people more often than menstrual cups. One of the reasons people fail so often with menstrual disc insertion, it's not that they didn't do it right, it's that they assumed they did it wrong and they were actually overthinking it. So I've had people message and say it can't be that easy, and I'm like, it actually could be that easy. Just wait and see. Wear backup, right? You don't know if it's leaking until it leaks, so always wear backup. But yeah, you fold it and you just put it in, and it just, angle it towards your back. I have lots of videos on how to insert these things, and they nestle right up to where they need to go. You tuck the last part in, the front rim, which is the last part, the bottom as you insert it, you tuck it up, and that's it. So you don't have to check for a seal or any of the things that you might do with a menstrual cup. You don't have to kind of fiddle to make sure it's open. It just kind of opens. So there is like an ease of insertion, an ease of folding that makes it possibly more appealing as a first-time user than some of the troubleshooting that you do with menstrual cups. But we haven't gotten to the cons yet. The cons might take you right back out into the menstrual cup world if you were thinking, that sounds too good to be true. That's when we say it might be too good to be true. And I say this as someone who is 100% a menstrual disc user at this point. I just love menstrual discs. But the cons, right? Menstrual discs tend to be more involved to insert. And I want to insert some footage here. I'm going to show you kind of where your fingers are going to go in a model, just so you kind of have an idea. So when you insert the disc, pretty intuitive, pretty easy, tucks right in. Wow, that was so easy. When you remove a disc, depending on the design of that disc, some have removal aids and some don't, you're going to be reaching probably much deeper into your own body to get it out. And so you're going to be like a full finger in there, maybe even a full thumb. And here's what happens. The next con, they can be messier to remove. And I say that knowing that, again, I love menstrual discs, but there's some finessing, and they are called blood drawers for a reason. Sometimes the blood spills out as you're removing them. There are ways around this. You want to pull it up to kind of navigate it, block that so it goes backwards away from your hand. Always do this in the shower the first time you're ever removing a menstrual disc. That is a pro tip. So yes, you're getting in there. You're getting in there to put it in. You're getting in there to remove it. It is just more involved with your own anatomy. And if you're not comfortable with that, if you're not comfortable putting basically your entire finger, possibly your entire thumb, maybe your middle finger inside of your vagina, the menstrual cup is a more gentle introduction to insertable products in that way. If you're not comfortable with blood, if you're not comfortable with seeing blood on your hands and having it touch your hands, again, maybe a menstrual cup. But as we discussed in the pro category, there's so many reasons menstrual discs are easier, and you might have a higher chance of success with them as a first-time user. But let's quickly talk about some of the anatomy differences that might mean that you have no choice. You are a menstrual cup person or a menstrual disc person. There's definitely a menstrual cup that works for just about everybody. The exception being that if you have a very low cervix, a menstrual disc in a smaller diameter is probably your best bet. Menstrual cups can be harder to remove if the flex cup is not an option for you and you have like accessibility and reach issues or hand strength issues, then a disc would actually be better for you as well. If you have a retroverted, backwards facing uterus that is close to the back wall of the vagina, a menstrual disc actually probably isn't going to work for you because it cannot tuck. I talked about that in one of my most recent videos. So then it means a menstrual cup is probably better for you. It sits underneath the cervix, so it doesn't have to tuck behind it. The fact that it's tilted towards the back of the vagina means that, the disc isn't going to work, but the cup can work. It can sit just below the cervix. If you have vaginismus, that's another thing to consider. Now, you might have already written off both cups and discs, and that could very well be true. They might not be for you. You might need cloth pads or period underwear. However, what I'm hearing from a lot of different people who have vaginismus and message for help through Instagram or email is that discs are kind of a better option. And I say that because, vaginismus is the tightening, the over tightening of the vaginal muscles. And so it is in response to inserting something, whether it is a physical response or a trauma response. You're trying to insert something, your body is saying no. So menstrual discs can insert really, really narrow, and particularly this flex disc I'm using as an example gets really, really narrow. And so it can go through with lubricant for sure, through that narrowness, through that tightness into the open space of the vaginal fornix. So you still need to be able to insert a finger to remove this product. So you're going to have to go through the vagina with a finger to pull it out. Another thing to consider, everything you put in, you have to be able to remove. So if it's easy to put in, it still needs to be removable. Menstrual cups, for example, they're not going to fold that narrow no matter how you fold it. Even the smallest fold, the labia fold, even the smallest cup in the smallest fold is not going to be as narrow and easy to kind of push through that tight set of muscles as a menstrual disc, especially one like flex because of that firmness. And talking about limitations, body size can be a big one. Hand strength can be a big one. The menstrual disc, Hello Disc, was meant to kind of address some of those issues because it has loops. So you can wear it drop down if you have a high cervix. If you have a high cervix, you definitely don't want to use all the menstrual discs because they're going to be hard to remove. So you want something with a tail or loops. And in that way, it just makes it easier to pull when you have those limitations. So you don't have to reach as high to pull it out. You can just kind of put it in, and then you have these loops to pull it out. My last note is that I am not a medical professional. So if you have something like vaginismus or any other pelvic floor issues and you want to talk to someone about reusable period care, definitely reach out to your OBGYN or your pelvic floor therapist in that way. So now that we've gone through all the pros, all the cons, who things work for, maybe who they don't work for sure, hopefully you kind of have a better understanding of what you want to pick. And as much as I would like to say menstrual cups are the number one and easiest for first-time users, or menstrual discs are, it is just more about your own hang-ups or your own anxieties or your own body or your own preferences that you just need to make the decision for yourself. I will say I used to always recommend menstrual cups for first-time users. There were just fewer options. And now we have a lot of menstrual disc options. They're more attainable, they're more accessible, and more people have heard of them, more people are using them. And that makes it easier to jump to from tampons. It used to be much scarier to use a menstrual disc, and I feel like that's not the case anymore. A few years ago it was. And if you want that higher chance of first-time success and that easier intuitive insertion, then a menstrual disc is actually a fantastic first-time choice if you're not worried about blood on your hands or putting things in your body. But if you do have some anxieties around that, menstrual cups are a nice stepping stone, and you might stop there. There's nothing wrong with using a menstrual cup and just using it and loving it. Either way, you're getting all those benefits. There's so many reasons to switch to either a cup or a disc. So there's no wrong choice here. It's just about what you feel most comfortable with using for your first time. I think that's everything. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I have tons of educational shorts and more infrequent educational long-form videos ahead. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. And it becomes, you've got a menstrual disc there, here, you know, there's no seat fold. Did I already say seat fold? There's no U-fold, which is also a seat fold. There's no origami. I already said that.